fast are these drivers? Well, look how fast they sign autographs. That's really fast. But the time for signing is over. Right now, they're all strapped into their cars and ready to go for the final event of the day for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers. Final practice. It is just as sunny as it was early in the day, but it is warmer. Track temperature up to 94 degrees right now. And not a cloud in the sky. But look at that flag in the breeze. That's what Kevin Harvick's team was talking about as he rolls out.
Way worse than what it was. Blowing at pulling turn 2. I heard you off in 2 there. Judging off the flags, the stands and all kind of blocking it off in 4. It doesn't look too bad down there, but a big headwind getting into 3. Simple.
So at least twice the wind velocity, maybe 3 times what we had for the early practice this morning, which was paced by Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, but it's not a crosswind. It is straight down the back straightaway. That's going to hurt your back straightaway speed. So you might feel a little buffing from the wind going down the back, but should be a nice push into turn 1.
Boy, traffic jam out here. Everybody wants to be out on the racetrack for the first couple of minutes of this session, Larry.
Well, this is as good as it's going to get as far as preparing for that race tomorrow. As you saw, track temps getting close to 100 degrees, so this is where you better be fine-tuning on this piece.
And this is where your car from earlier this morning, you liked it a lot. Right now, you might hate that car because this track is so different than it was earlier today.
Now, in the morning practice, Casey Kane was very curious where Kevin Harvick was running because Harvick had the fastest 5 and 10 consecutive laps of that practice. Now it's Brad Keselowski with much that same curiosity.
Mike, this morning Jimmy Johnson was
here. Just let me know. 4 cars kind of the clash here. I'd like to know what lanes. Probably just going to run bottom here the whole run. But I'd like to know what lanes he's running in.
Yeah, and that's where the spotter can be so helpful to the driver. Who's running where? What line are they running? What kind of lap times are they running? So that's vital information right now getting ready for this race.
Well, and they were able to look at some of the same information that we saw earlier, Mike, to your point. Best 5-lap average, best 10-lap average, and here's the eyes in the skies for these drivers. All the spotter is just down to the right from our broadcast booth.
Yeah, and this morning, remember, Jimmy Johnson's fast lap was a 28.14. And his fast lap now in this session, a 28.77. And that's mainly just from the heat in the racetrack.
He is fastest, however, as he draws down on Jeb Burton and makes the pass.
And Darrell, I heard so many drivers say this week, and I think they're absolutely spot on, is even if you get your car driving good in this session, you almost know and anticipate, whether it's just because it's going to get warmer tomorrow, the Xfinity Series race, that the track will have less grip when we start this race tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's where this little bit harder right side tire than we had here in the past, but a little bit softer left side tire. So I think this will be one of those times when you decide, maybe I could use just 2 tires.
2 left sides.
2 left sides.
Martin Truex Jr. has been fast all weekend. Jamie Little.
He's been on a roll all year long, finishing in the top 10 in the first 2 races, and that's continuing here, Mike, like you said. This morning he was 6th in practice, and, quote, he said that his car was super fast, stupid fast. And I went and talked to his crew chief, Cole Pern, and he said they've made minimal changes on this brand new race car, and the goal for this final practice is just to run in some traffic and dial it in with these warmer temperatures. Let's go over to Matt.
Jamie, we've touched on a lot of the headliners who've thrown up big numbers, but now time for some sleepers, including the 31 of Ryan Newman. Now, 3 of the last 4 times he's come here to Las Vegas, he has finished 7th or better. That's where he'll start tomorrow. A great pit selection. He shares an opening with Jimmy Johnson right at start-finish. The car's been very manageable much of the weekend. In fact, in the earlier session today, just 2 minor changes. He's going to go out and run a 10-lap run, but he's already on his way back in, so we'll see what they're going to do to the 31 next.
And Larry and Mike, I always felt like when you change the crew chief, it cost the owner $500,000. Because the new crew chief would look at the cars and say, I don't know how you drove those old cars. We got to be able to do some brand new. As you just heard, Martin Truex has got a brand new car here. I'm sure that's Cole Pern putting his little magic in something like he wanted to build, not what Todd Barrier was building possibly.
A little different approach.
Riding along with Clint Boyer.
As we're riding along with Clint Boyer, I was so happy to hear what Jamie Little reported about Martin Truex Jr. He's going to try to run in traffic, which is what you're going to be in tomorrow in that race.
You and I have stood up here how many weeks last year and just every week, and these guys never get close to each other. Then they get in a race and they say, well, I can't drive this thing in traffic. Well, why didn't you get out there and try it in practice? Only time they do that is at Daytona and Talladega where they're drafting. But, man, I'd want to get up behind somebody with this little aero change we've got here with that smaller rear spoiler on these cars. It got to make the car a little looser.
That's what Jeff Gordon's doing right now with Regan Smith.
Well, what a qualifying role Jeff Gordon's on right now. 2 out of 3 poles this year, and if you go back to Homestead, that equates to sitting on 3 of the last 4 poles for Sprint Cup Series races.
Or if you're a Gordon fan, you would say in the last 3 races in which he's run a qualifying lap, he's won the pole.
Exactly.
And you'd be right.
Yes, sir, because did not get to go out and make a lap at Atlanta last weekend.
That is such huge confidence to know you have a car that good. That's big for Jeff and Al and Gustin, that whole crowd. That's a big deal, man.
Big sign over that 42 car, win one soon. And this track suits Kyle Larson. He's been fast all weekend. There's the captain, Roger Penske. There's a look at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and right in the center is the Neon Garage right there, where inside of those 4 buildings that kind of form those arrow points, that's the fan zone. The fans can enjoy music and concerts and car displays and look right into the work being done in the garage areas.
And Mike,
right
look
there.
at all the people that are standing up there on the balconies, being able to watch the cars come and go, and the guys working on the cars. This is a great layout here. It's really fan friendly, and it also allows the drivers, you know, they're not hollering at the drivers so much like, you know, the Daytona thing where they can stick stuff through the window. Here they're up on those balconies and they can see everything that's going on, and the drivers and the crews can still work on their cars too.
Yeah, the fans can get up close, but not too personal.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Exactly.
Let's go down into the garage area, and Jamie.
And Eric is talking about how it feels kind of like being in a fishbowl with all those people watching you. But you guys are making some big changes here. What are you looking to get out of the car?
Just trying to really get the car to turn better without making it too loose. Last practice, as you can see, we spun out. We were fighting tight, but at the same time, we were too loose. Snappy, loose on exit. And it just makes it really hard to drive when it drives like that. So Trent and the guys come up with a package to change for happy hour. We started with it. The car is a lot more comfortable. We're just now making some changes, trying to find some speed in the car and make it turn a little bit better without getting too loose.
So many changes happening already in this practice session, and now that the wind is going a different direction, Mike, it's throwing everybody off.
Sure, he's 18th on the board in this session. He spun off turn 2, but did no damage to the car in the first session.
What he's talking about, Mike, is like a nightmare when you're pushy loose. And engineers always told me, if you ask the driver how's the car and he says I'm pushy loose, you fix the push first. If you get the push out of the car, it might take the loose out.
It was up.
There was a little reminder to Austin Dillon from his crew chief Gil Martin that he has the driver adjustable track bar. The switch is right on the steering wheel.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. 8th on the board in this session. Jamie?
And early on, Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying no grip in the back of the car. He can't get into turn 1. So really trying to focus on those bumps as you ride on board with him. Trying to move up high, down low, move all around, and just dial these cars in a little bit more in this final hour of practice.
And you know, Mike, Darrell and I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking to David Reagan yesterday, and he talked about using that driver adjustable track bar, just another adjustment that the driver has inside the cockpit of that race car. And he said it's just a fine-tuning tool that you can't fix the race car, you can just fine-tune with it.
One thing he did tell us, though, is you can get carried away with it, and that you can get the car way out of shape.
This right here, that's the button. You just flips it up to raise the track bar on the right rear, or you can flip it down to lower the track bar. It's only adjust on the right rear. Now here's the track bar area right here, and that's the part that's driven by a little electrical motor that raises it and lowers it. The crew can still adjust it on a pit stop, but this is something that the driver can adjust in the race.
So by raising or lowering that track bar mount, that changes the roll center of the rear of the car. What does the driver feel that's different?
Well, when you lower it down, it lowers the rear roll center, so the car is tighter. But it can help you get in the corner sometimes, but then you're going to be way too tight off the corner. And so what Reagan was saying was, is I had that thing, I'd moved it 2.5 inches. And I'd moved it so much that the crew didn't know what to do to the car to help me. So they ended up putting it back about where it was. He said what you need to do, he felt like, was stay in a range. Maybe 1/2 inch up, 1/2 inch down. But don't do the dramatic change like he found himself doing.
Casey Mears talking it over with Booty Barker. 42 minutes to go in final practice for the Kobalt 400. By sprint. Kevin Harvick's string of top 2 finishes is the most by any Cup driver since 2006. Stay connected to the Sprint Cup Series with Sprint during the Cut Your Bill in Half event. Bring your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and your current phone. They'll cut your rate plan.
In those 5 races, Kevin has led 436 laps.
Wow.
But remember this morning when we were riding with Kevin, how smooth this car was driving?
Yes.
Not so much right now in that hot slick track.
Clint Boyer searching for something. Now he's 11th on the board. His teammate Brian Vickers is 6th. And this is by far his best practice or qualifying session of the weekend. They were struggling this morning, Jamie.
They really were, and I went and talked to him after they were 36 on the board after this morning's practice, and Clint said he has no rear grip, loose in and tight off. He actually sent out a funny tweet asking if anybody's selling rear grip, that he's in the market. So he's laughing about it, but he said it's been so frustrating. They just cannot dial this race car in.
Now go over to that 48 car. They got it over there by the barrels, I think.
Yep.
Probably about 55 gallon over there.
Joey Logano right now 2nd, while his Penske Ford teammate Brad Keselowski is 9th in this session, Matt.
He's on his way back to the garage area, and he told his spotter Joey Meyer a few laps ago to tell the team that he was going to be moving up top and try migrating up and see if that helps the race car. The car really is in good balance. He got a little bit in dirty air, but he said still the car was very manageable. He qualified 11th. Remember, this is where he began his 6-win season a year ago.
Well, a good indication, Matt, that I think he's pretty happy with the balance of that race car. You see right there, he's run the 2nd most laps. Well, the same amount of laps as Kyle Larson. I saw the same thing with Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car when practice started. He went out there and ran 14 consecutive laps.
Yeah, it looks like the magic number is 15. Larson, Keselowski, Stewart, a number of these guys have run 15 laps. Johnson at 14, somewhere around 15 laps. What do you think? What's a good number of laps to run to get the tire pressures and everything, get a good feel for the car?
I'd say 15 to 20, but 15 is 1/3 of a fuel run. So I think everything somewhat gets heat soaked, and you're going to know where the tires are headed there.
Tony Stewart made it into the final round of qualifying yesterday. Wound up 12th when it was all over, 20th in this practice session. His 29.24 to Jimmy Johnson's 28.77, about 1/2 second there. A.J. Allmendinger.
You know, A.J.'s been pretty solid here all weekend long, and I know talking to A.J. during the offseason, they felt good, obviously, about their road course program. They felt good about the restrictor plate program, but he says where we have to get better, the 1.5 and 2 mile racetracks. I look at the run that he had at Atlanta last week. I look at where he's been this week. Looks like to me there's been vast improvements in that area.
Yes, sir, I agree. Again, I think it's that alliance thing. You know, if you look at him and the 78 car and the 13, they're all running good right now. And so they're obviously getting good information from their alliance with the Childress Group.
Yeah, very strong early season. Brian Vickers' season starts here. Back in December, open heart surgery. But the doctors about a month or 6 weeks ago said by the first weekend in March he'll be ready to return to action, and cleared him to do so. That is just, I won't say miracle because I know it's a lot of science, not very much magic, but my goodness, what a journey for Brian Vickers.
Mike, I said this yesterday, and I think the folks at home understand. Athletes, they don't understand the resolve of an athlete. They don't understand the desire to get back in that car, to get back to doing what you love, to get back to your job. It's not like somebody that says, well, it's going to take 6 months or a year for you to heal up. That's if you don't do anything. These cats are in the gym as soon as they can. Kyle Busch right now is at home doing upper body, keeping his upper body strong while his legs mend. And that's what athletes do. They got a goal. They set a goal when I want to get back to work. And, buddy, they work toward it night and day.
There'll be a nice piece on Brian Vickers' recovery in our Fox pre-race show tomorrow. Yeah, it's not like somebody saying, boy, I can't wait to get back to the office. I mean, how do you prepare for that? That's a little different.
No, it is. And I know for myself, and I know other guys that have been hurt before, you work your tail off to get back to doing what you love.
Justin Allgaier, 29th in this session for Harry Scott's team. Jimmy Johnson, still fastest. That's no surprise, is it? A look at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Those are motor coaches, motorhomes along the back straightaway.
Look
into turn number 3.
Mike, look all around. Look over at the top of the screen. I drove out there this morning. Jimbo and I did. This place is packed. I never saw so many motorhomes. And it's an immense racing complex. There's a drag strip. There's a dirt oval. There's a paved oval. There's a couple of road courses. And those are now the high-dollar motor coach spots lining the back straightaway, much like, say, at Martinsville, where we go to in a few weeks for the first short track race of the season. I mean, they've been here. Most of these motor coaches have been here since Wednesday or Thursday. Been here all week.
Yeah. There is one of the training courses, road courses, dirt, and, oh, God, there's a dirt road course, as well as an asphalt road course. There's the Bull Ring, the quarter-mile oval, where the Busch brothers cut their racing teeth. Here in Las Vegas.
I thought all road courses were dirt when I first started.
And there's a championship level drag strip over by our TV compound. And the World of Outlaws and Modifieds were racing on the dirt track here just the other night.
Yeah.
Now there is our NASCAR on Fox television compound right adjacent the drag strip.
But you know what? Above and beyond all that, the weather is absolutely perfect.
Phenomenal.
All weekend.
Couldn't be better. And a huge crowd they had here yesterday. The Stratosphere joins with the Speedway in promoting qualifying day and seating tickets throughout the Las Vegas area. And they had an enormous crowd, and congratulations to them.
Yeah, you walk outside and you can hear that downtown going, Larry, Larry.
Somewhere there's a machine calling your name. Matt.
Mike, Denny Hamlin, he's making his way back to the garage area. His teammate David Reagan in Kyle Busch's 18 is backing out the crunchy car. Now, basically a tale of two sessions today. The first session, the car was primarily free. They got it comfortable near the end. This session, though, temperatures have heated up. Now the car is extremely tight on exit. Significant changes every time in the garage. They just made a spring change this time in.
Thanks, Matt. You may have seen that sticker on the C-pillar at the base of the rear window, celebrating Wendell Scott's very first start in what is now the Sprint Cup Series. And it came on this weekend back in, I should have read the sticker, I'm guessing 1961. Let's see, how close did we get? March 4th, 1961.
I tell you what was cool was being at the Hall of Fame, and I had dinner with Wendell's family, his sons and a bunch of other kids, and I tell you, I had the best time. Told me some of the funniest stories about Wendell and their experiences, things I had seen, and they filled in the blanks.
Wonderful,
it was
wonderful
so much
family.
fun.
They've worked so hard and so long, and are finally rewarded with Wendell Scott being elected to NASCAR's Hall of Fame and inducted just 2 months ago. Alex Bowman on track. Road Rippers. Those are radio control race cars. And the cool thing about this generation of radio control cars is you can get them to slide. The tire technology is such they'll slide. They'll drift. They're a lot of fun. They're expensive. I have a 15-year-old son, and let me tell you, they're expensive. But they're a lot of fun. They're cool. Wendell Scott, a pioneer among the class of 2015, ran that number 34, ran cast-off cars and parts got himself 147 top 10 finishes and 1 victory in what's now the Sprint Cup Series. 1 win against long odds. We're going to really stretch your movie knowledge here. There is a king and a president. The king, of course, is Richard Petty, stock car racing's king. To his left, right side of the screen, that's Tommy Lister, former professional wrestler and actor who played the president in the movie The Fifth Element, played Debo in the movie Friday. Richard did a fan appearance in the Neon Garage earlier today, and he said, every time I sign my name, and it's probably the most signed autograph in history, he says it's a thank you to the fans.
And it's a work of art.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he went somewhere, I don't remember what he's told me years ago, to learn how to make all those swirls and the signature the way it is. And the beautiful thing about it is, you can read it.
Yes, it's distinctive and it's legible.
Yes, it says Richard Petty. That's one of the things, watching guys sign stuff in the garage. When they get through signing, I look at, what is that supposed to be? I never could sign and walk. I had to stop and sign and stop and sign.
I'll tell you who has the greatest autograph in racing, and that's Johnny Rutherford. Johnny Rutherford writes like he went to Catholic elementary school and the nuns were carrying rulers and would slap your hand on your knuckles if you just didn't make your loops or your descendants just right. And I asked him that once. He said, no, it didn't go to Catholic school, but it's a marvelous signature and a great racer to boot.
A sweet lady asked Michael and I for autographs. I signed mine. Michael signed his, and she walked away. She came back. She said, Michael, what does that say? He said, that's my signature. She said, well, you do it again so I can read it.
And you know what? He worked on it. He did. He spent a whole speed week up sitting in the Fox booth practicing his autograph.
He's bored.
Always a lot of sign language going on there. Jamie.
Well, Jimmy Johnson actually has a pretty autograph. If
Yes.
you read that, 2 J's, it's very nice. So 2 runs ago, Jimmy came in and said he was just consistently loose. They made a change, and this time he came in, he said, I'm pretty good. The edginess is gone in turn 4, but Chad told him, his crew chief said, we need to be about a 10th faster. They're P1 on the board right now. They still want more.
But you know, Jamie, a lot of that comes from just what the research they do from the last year. They look at the competition. They kind of know what the pace of the race is going to be, and that's where they get those numbers from and those ideas from. Is all the information that they have from previous races here, and then kind of how the competition, how they're stacking up against the competition.
Well, you never know who's on what tires, but I think one thing they're looking at, their last lap was a 29.81. And with fairly similar laps, I look at Brad Keselowski. Again, they may have put tires on that 2 car, but he's running 29.50s and 60s. I look down at Denny Hamlin, and he's in the 29.60s. So that's probably what Chad and Jimmy's looking at.
I'm watching the 4 and the 41 here, Larry, and that's Regan Smith in the 41, and he's kind of shadowing Kevin Harvick in the 4. And if you look at the 4, he's 5th quick. You look at the 41, he's 30th quick. And I'm sure Regan is trying to say, I'm not sure where I'm losing time around the racetrack. And I think Kevin's probably saying, look, let's go out, you follow me, and I'll show you my line and see if that helps you or not. Which is great to have a teammate that's willing to do that. And really and truly, that's just Kevin Harvick to a T.
You know, of all those Richard Petty autographs, you know, they're not very valuable on the secondary market. And the reason is he's signed so many of them. In history, the most valuable autographs today. Number 1, William Shakespeare. Didn't sign very many of his works. And signer of the Declaration of Independence from Georgia, Button Gwinnett. He has a county named after him, north of Atlanta. He signed the Declaration of Independence, but there are only 51 known copies of his signature. That's a very valuable gift.
I would say in my time it'd be Paul Newman. Paul Newman autograph had to be worth quite a bit, I think.
Didn't give many.
No, he didn't.
No.
I got one for that very reason. Hey, why you got your tie on?
Because I'm going down and do the Xfinity Race Day show where we're going to talk to Regan Smith, just became a dad. And how about the youth movement? The top 5 in points. All of them are under the age of 24, and I think all 5 of them maybe have a shot at this race later on today on Fox Sports 1.
Wow, should be fun.
Tell you what, if I was 20 years younger, I'd get out there and kick their butt. No, better make that 40.
You know those 51 signatures of Gwinnett's that exist? Most of them were on IOUs. That's a fact. Of the NASCAR West Coast swing. From here we go to Phoenix and then to Fontana, California. And then we go short track at Martinsville Speedway. The STP 500 to close out the month of March will be there. We want to see you there. So go to martinsvillespeedway.com/tickets and come join us at the little half mile that thinks it's a super speedway.
This is March Madness at its finest.
Oh, yes.
West Coast swing and then go home and race Martinsville. Are you kidding me?
Can't wait. It's a dream. By the way, it's 2,242 miles from here. Should we leave now? Depends how we're going, I guess. Hey, Brian Scott, what a neat thing he did last week. Michael Annett did not make the race, but had a full season sponsor and is running for Sprint Cup points, where Brian Scott declared that he is running for Xfinity Series points, not Sprint Cup points. So Brian voluntarily stepped out of that ride, let Michael Annett run the car so he could run it for the championship. Brian's back aboard here at Las Vegas.
They start second today in the Xfinity race.
To Austin Dillon?
Austin Dillon,
yep.
Yeah. This is Michael's buddy here. Michael's convinced that Brian's going to win a race real soon in the Xfinity Series. And, of course, his friend Denny Hamlin is convinced he won't, but they have quite a good bet about that.
Carl Edwards, 21st in this final practice session. His teammate Matt Kenseth is 7th. Denny Hamlin 16th. Edwards in the 21st spot. David Reagan right behind him, 22nd.
But as I think about that, Denny, if Michael said he would, Denny would definitely bet it he wouldn't.
Right.
Because they just like to, bet about something.
Danica Patrick in final practice. She will roll off 21st tomorrow.
Her car was a lot better in the morning practice than earlier practice. Now she's way over there in the
31st.
Whoa, 31st, yeah.
She was up around top 20 range.
She was like 15, 16
earlier.
So she was.
The track heating up. Not as much to her liking as it was this morning, but this is much more like what we expect race conditions to be tomorrow. One driver who's having absolutely no difficulties in this session is on the practice chart right where he will start tomorrow. Second. That is Daytona 500 winner Joey Logano. Here's Jamie.
And they haven't done a whole lot to this car. Joey reporting to his team that he thinks the track has tightened up. So they've been loosening up, which is the opposite of what we've been hearing from a lot of drivers, saying they're just super loose this practice session. So they made a track bar adjustment. And meanwhile, his boss man, the captain, Roger Penske, in the garage right now watching the board, watching his driver. He told me he just landed from Australia. He was down there, of course, for their first V8 supercar race with driver Marcus Ambrose. He said he did a great job. Ooh, wiggle there by the 22, but Marcus Ambrose finished 12th, and Roger Penske very happy to be back here stateside.
Yeah, off to a great start, and boy, we love those V8 supercars. That's a great series. Darrell and I got to go down to Bathurst and then to the Gold Coast for a couple of races a few years ago.
I love that series.
Wonderful.
I just love following them. Jason Bright, all those guys, Win Cup, the whole crowd.
Now Dale Earnhardt Jr. 8th in this session, but he spent a lot of time around traffic during this run.
Yeah, I like the fact that you try to work around traffic. He caught Brendan Gaughan there, went around him. Then he got the 98 car there of Josh Wise, got around him, kind of threaded the needle right here. Something he's going to have to do in the race. You heard him lift just a little bit. He wasn't sure where the 98 car Josh Wise was headed, but it's good stuff, man. You kind of find out what your car will do as you pass other cars.
Junior's average finish at Las Vegas since joining Hendrick Motorsports is 8th. That is his best at any track with the Hendrick organization.
Yeah, he was about a mile maybe last year from winning this thing. Ran out of fuel coming off at turn 2.
Yep.
And everybody said, well, he and Stevie Letarte, they'd won Daytona and they could roll the dice. I guess that was probably a true statement. But you know what? You don't want to roll the dice to the point where you think you're going to run out of gas. I think that was just a slight miscalculation on their part. They're within a half a lap of pulling off 2 in a row.
But I like their thinking, Darrell. If we win, we've got 2. And if we lose, so what?
Yeah.
We're in the chase.
That's a beautiful thing about the chase. It's a so what thing.
Right. 14 minutes to go in final practice. Place your bets, everybody. Who will be fast in the Kobalt 400? We know Jimmy Johnson is fast. Kevin Harvick has been fast. But you add names like Truex to the mix.
Don't you love that shot,
Larson.
Mike?
And here's, yes, I love that aerial view. Here's Jimmy Johnson's practice summary. Darrell, he leads almost every category.
Yeah, that car is. They got to be really happy with that car, and they just keep tuning on it. You heard Chad say they needed a 10th, and they will work right up to the end of practice here, trying to gain that 10th. That would give them. I think they're right where they need to be, but that 10th would give them a cushion. I really think that's what they're looking for. We'd like to have a 10th in the bank.
We mentioned Martin Truex. And I think if you're looking for a dark horse candidate for Sunday, Truex and Kyle Larson and Casey Mears can't be ignored. Now Truex, you talked about the difficulty of getting onto pit road. There you saw it.
Hey, you know what somebody was mentioning about the orange cone? What are those things that we saw in Australia? Remember they set up in the turns and they could run over them, and they would register when you ran over them. You know that they were.
Yes,
what were those?
If I say bollards, it's going to sound like something it shouldn't, but I believe that's what they called them.
I think they were.
And they were like a cone that was hinged at the base. There's the orange cone at the entrance to pit road.
Yeah, right here.
And those a driver could hit and knock over and they'd pop back up, but it would register the hit.
Yes.
And there would be penalties until so many people ran over it, it stopped registering. And he just missed it completely.
And that's so easy to do here because the way the pit road, where the entrance is, it's so late into the corner here coming off 4 that it's so easy to misjudge getting on pit road here. I've seen it time and time again.
It is bollards. That's an Australian technical term. A lot of right turns, very few lefts.
Well, they kind of reminded me of the poles that you hit when you're going down a ski slope. You know, they would just knock them over and come back up and knock them over and come back up.
Yeah, the poles for the gates. That's right. A lot of cars on track in the closing 10 minutes of this session. Matt Kenseth 7th on the board early on. Searching for a bit of speed here. He is the fastest of the Joe Gibbs cars, though the fastest Toyota is Brian Vickers in 6th. There's David Reagan, 22nd overall.
Saw that purple car, Michael Annette, spun out yesterday, but recovered nicely. Got the car straightened out. Didn't hit anything.
Boy, I wish Marty Robbins could see this. That looks so much like that old. Was it Cotton Owens prepared that Dodge?
It was
42 Dodge.
Yeah, and he ran
the race.
Ray Abraham restored the car that Marty raced at Nashville, the old Dodge, and 777. That was Marty's number.
Right. Those were the days. Here's Carl Edwards, 21st on the speed chart.
Well, I do notice, Mike, they just keep moving up in turn 3. The groove just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. A number of guys are really up there feeling it out, seeing what kind of grip they got up there.
Well, you do have more banking the higher you go on this racetrack, as Brian Scott completes 34 laps, 35 now. And that gives him the most laps for the session.
Well, the hotter the track gets and the slicker it gets, you got to put the slide factor in there. So you go in right where you'd like to, but you're going to slide up the hill whether you want to or not. So you got to kind of consider that and start to anticipate where the car's going to end up.
Trevor Bayne, 35th. Hasn't run a lot of laps in this session. Fastest Ford is Joey Logano 2nd, then Brad Keselowski 9th, the 2 Penske cars. Then you have to go down to 18th to find Eric Almirola and Greg Biffle.
Now Jimmy is running right. I mean, where he's running is obviously the preferred line. You watch this.
And late in this session, the only cars running 2940s right now are Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Larson.
And look, Trevor Bayne in the 6. I mean, that's a good race car. And Jimmy Johnson gets that nose up under him coming off a 4, makes the pass and drives on.
And drops right down, takes the bottom shot and the short way around.
It's most likely where you'll see him run most of the day unless something happens to the car and he has to change his line. But that's where he wants to be, right on that white line.
How about Brett Moffitt there in the 34 that Johnson is passing? Had such a great run at Atlanta. Rob Kaufman and Michael Waltrip put out the word, we'd like to find some more opportunities for this young man. He's a wheel man, and got together with Front Row Motorsports. And here's Brett with a 3-race deal to drive the number 34, while David Reagan is substituting for Kyle Busch in the 18.
Yeah, even though he's only 34th on the time chart, one thing this kid will do, and Michael knows this and Rob knows it, he'll bring that car home in one piece. And even though he might start deep in the field, watch him come up and get a pretty decent finish with this race car. Very consistent, smart young man. Absolutely.
Now, Jamie McMurray's weekend is kind of curious. He started out, he and Kyle Larson were fastest in the second practice. But look at him in this session. He's back in 26th position, while Larson is 17th. Six minutes to go in final practice for tomorrow's Kobalt 400 in Las Vegas that you'll see live on Fox. Tomorrow it's the Kobalt 400 from Las Vegas. Jeff Gordon starts on pole with a new track record. Daytona 500 winner Joey Logano on the front row, leading the field to green. Coverage begins 3 p.m. Eastern only on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Now available for DirecTV customers.
Look at that. Casey Mears third quick there, and Martin Truex fourth quick. Martin Truex is down there with Jamie right now.
He's pretty darn happy all weekend long, but we did show you get onto pit road. How difficult is it, and how important is it to practice like you did?
It's not that difficult if you use the right marks. I tried to go a little bit further than where my mark was from earlier, and just trying to find that limit, because you can gain or lose so much time getting on pit road. So found our limit, we got our spot, we should be good for tomorrow.
How good and how fun is this race car?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's really good. I feel like we're as good as the best right now. We maybe just need a little bit to be the best car, but I think we kind of went through the things that we wanted to, and now it's all about guessing what the pace is going to be tomorrow. So the rest is up to Cole and the engineers. Hopefully we'll guess it right to start the race, and we've got a good car to work on all day tomorrow. It's very adjustable. We've been able to get on both sides of it here, so feel good about what we got, and we'll be done for the day.
All right, as good as the best, Martin Truex Jr.
And pace is so important. It's something these crew chiefs really study, because you set the car up based on what you think the pace will be. The faster you go, the more the car will travel. So you've got to take that into consideration when you're getting ready for the race.
Darrell, 2 minutes to go in this session. There are 28 cars out on the racetrack.
Yeah, right
to
now,
make a final run.
Yeah, I mean, this is the ideal conditions, Mike. This is exactly the way the race will be tomorrow. The sun, the track temps, the weather, everything is pretty much mirroring what we'll see tomorrow. These guys want to get as much information that they can download and look at after practice is over with as they can right now in this final few minutes of practice.
Fastest in the wall goes David Reagan, turn 2.
Gosh, man, with a minute and a half to go.
Fastest car on track in this grouping is Ryan Newman.
A little too high in the gray stuff, and I probably will be a backup here.
Wow.
Just said he got a little high in the gray stuff. Let's see what the right side looks like. Yeah, it's got a pretty good bit of damage there. They'll get a backup out for sure. She's a little crispy down that right side.
Let's have a look at it, Darrell.
Said he got up high. Let's see what happened down here. He's in 1 and 2. See him back here. Car just starts up the hill, wiggled a little bit back in the middle of in the corner there, and that kind of shot him up the hill right into the wall. And there's Boyer coming up on him pretty quick. Yep. Boyer could probably tell you exactly what happened.
Well, let's ride with Clint Boyer and see.
Boyer sees him, loses a little bit.
3, big round on the bottom. You see him in the wall in front of you. Clear low behind the sky, clear low. All clear by 7.
The track did not go yellow. It stayed green through these final 2 minutes of practice. And the flags are out. We're done.
That's kind of heartbreaking, really, when you run right up to the end of practice. Been here for a couple of days, qualified and everything. A minute and a half to go when you hit the wall. That's just hard on the team.
It's got to be really hard on a substitute driver.
Yeah, I know. That's the last thing he wants to do is tear up a race car in practice, particularly, but any time.
So Casey Mears third, Joey Logano second, Jimmy Johnson wins practice. But Matt, what about our pole sitter?
He just drove by me in the garage area, and there's significant cosmetic damage, Mike, right in the headlight area of that nose up in the right front. So they're definitely going to have some repair work to do there. He's on his way to his garage stall.
Matt, did it look like he hit something?
Yes.
Oh. I didn't see anything fly off the 18. There wasn't a caution, you know. The 18 hit the wall and they stayed green, so I didn't see any debris off of it. Don't know what it could have been. I will say earlier in the Xfinity practice, a spring rubber came out of somebody's car and it shot into the nose of one of the other race cars, knocked a big hole in the nose of it. So maybe somebody lost their spring rubber.
Well, yeah, that'll happen at 190 miles an hour.
That'll do it.
But I don't see anything missing off the 18. It didn't shed any parts or sheet metal.
No, I don't think the spotters did either. There was no caution. I mean, you know, you could fix that 18 car most likely, and possibly they will, but that was pretty hard lick. When you got a good backup, you just go get the good backup.
So a couple questions to answer at the end of this practice session. With Jimmy Johnson fastest, 4 Chevys in the top 5, with Joey Logano's Ford in second place. A little damage to Jeff Gordon's car and maybe major damage to David Reagan's, which may or may not force him into a backup car situation.
So Austin Dillon there in the 3 car, he starts on the pole in the Xfinity race here in a little while, and 10th quick.
So here is the final rundown from Sprint Cup final practice for tomorrow's Kobalt 400. Stick around. Coming up shortly is the NASCAR Xfinity Series race after NASCAR Race Day.